Hey guys, it's Dixie Crusader here, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment, why it's important to us Americans, and I'm also going to talk about some recent news, what's happening in America, what's going on, and maybe I can give you guys a little bit of advice. Take that with a grain of salt, but we'll get started with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, who does it even serve? It serves the American people and protects an individual's rights to possess a firearm unconnected with service in a militia, and to use that arm for traditional lawful purposes such as self-defense or hunting wild game. That's kind of like your basic idea for the Second Amendment and who it's for. If you want to get a little more nuanced, technically the Second Amendment is for white land-owning U.S. citizens. That's how the Founding Fathers really wanted it, but obviously as time progresses, laws change, new people come into power, other parties take control and kind of shift the narrative of where America is going to go. And now it's basically any U.S. citizen who is legally a U.S. citizen and obviously doesn't have a violent criminal past. And also with certain laws, depending on your state, can be more restrictive or more loose on particular guns, particular grips, stuff like that. Why is it even in place? It's in place because George Washington recognized that England was such a powerful, empire. I mean, at the time, England was the empire. And he realized the power that they had, and he did not want America or the 13 colonies to be overrun or taken over by a bad regime or a monarchy. And to do that, and what he thought was to implement the right for the citizens to bear arms. And at the time, those arms would be stuff like naval vessels, cannons, flintlocks, muskets, stuff like that. Stuff of that sorts. There really wasn't any limitations. It was kind of the Wild West back then, and too bad it didn't stay that way. And a lot of people try to bring up the musket argument, trying to say that, oh, well, the Second Amendment was really only for flintlocks and muskets. It wasn't for 30-round magazines on an AR-15 and semi-automatic rifles. Well, we've all heard the stereotypical, anti-gun argument, and I don't really understand where they got that, because nowhere does it say it's specifically only for muskets or flintlocks. But that's like trying to say that the First Amendment is only for letters and you shouldn't have free speech on the internet or your iPhone. It's just so silly. And because the Founding Fathers were smart, they knew technology would advance. They didn't, confine the laws to the technology of the time. They left it open so that technology could advance and the citizens could still have access to, the latest, greatest tech. Or at least that's the idea. Obviously, there's like a 20-year waiting period on everything that DARPA and the military industrial complex comes out with. And there's also restrictions now on a lot of stuff that we can't own. For better or for worse. Some things are reasonable and some are kind of stupid. And a lot of these laws are 100 years old or over 100 years old. And also, if the Founding Fathers wanted to keep only muskets and flintlocks and cannons, they would have said so. People fail to realize that there was multiple mock-ups or actual prototypes of auto, or not auto, repeater style muskets. Some's like the Benton flintlock. You know, this one shot 8 shots in a row without having to be reloaded, and the only reason it really never came to fruition was because it was just too expensive for the time being. Other than that, Congress loved it, but it was just too pricey. They didn't have the money back then, I guess. And then you have the Karloff musket. It was a 30-round capacity, and it was a Denmark gun. And the reload time was 1 to 2 seconds, and it shot 10 to 20 millimeter ammo. How come that wasn't brought up in the Bill of Rights or the Second Amendment? Obviously, these designs were known about, and yet the Founding Fathers didn't say anything to restrict it. Thank God. Thank God. With the recent news that's going on, a lot of people are getting interested about learning about guns. A lot of people are maybe getting to buy their first gun, or maybe they're starting to get red-pilled. They've been anti-gun their whole life, and they've never even been interested in it. Now, with how crazy America's getting each day, it seems like each day is getting a little closer to midnight. Actually, we're the closest we've been to midnight ever. But I digress. A lot of people are getting interested in guns, and they just don't know, or they've never had anyone to teach them when they were growing up. And I just wanted to go over the basic rules of firearms, and I guess a few recommendations for what, a starter person should get. If you're wanting to do hunting, like let's say you want to be able to shoot deer close range, and you also would like to maybe potentially go duck hunting, a shotgun, 12 gauge specifically, is really the do-all rifle. You can go to a pawn shop and find you a 12 gauge for right around $200 to $300. If you're down here in the South, I'm sure there's some good old boys or some friends that you know that have shotguns and they'll be willing to sell to you. But just in case YouTube wants to come after me, I am not advocating for any violence or uprising or militia groups to do anything bad, just so we're clear. These are all, just regular citizens who just want to have self-defense measures. I digress. If you want to be able to shoot deer far away, I would look at getting something chambered in .308 or, something a little bigger. I'm not too into like rifles, like bolt action rifles, but my pastor, he shoots .308 and 30-06. I don't know what he shoots with the 30-06. That's a really freaking big round, but whatever. Pistol, get you a Glock or an M&P. Don't get a High Point. Don't get a Taurus. Stay away from SIGs. Just because, right now they're a little, we've all seen the memes. This would be a good segue into gun safety. Rule number 1, treat the gun as it's loaded all the time. Never, ever treat it like it's not loaded, even if you know it's not loaded. Don't be swinging the barrel around, flagging your buddies or your family members. It's just poor etiquette, and safety. It's just bad. Just don't do that at all. Another thing is, I kind of already talked about it, but don't flag people. Flagging is where you point the end of your barrel at a person or animal, and that's just no bueno. That's not good. You don't need to be flagging something or pointing your rifle at anything you do not intend to destroy or kill. So just keep your rifle pointed up in the air or down at the ground. I prefer the ground, but obviously different situations call for different places to place your rifle. Another rule for guns is I already covered that. What else can I say? And another thing, I guess I really need to hammer it down a little more because of the SIG P320. With it just firing, just sitting in the holster, really be, especially if you're going to have a SIG, be super careful. Treat it as if it could go off at any second. But if you want to know which caliber pistol you should get, I would recommend, if you're wanting ease of access or something that would be plentiful in a SHTF situation, I would run 9mm or 45 ACP. I'm a little biased towards 45 ACP because back-to-back World War IIs, baby, or back-to-back World War champs. But I mean, it's just a bigger round and it does more damage. And with hollow rounds or hollow points, you just can't go wrong. It's a perfect self-defense setup. And back in the day, I could see the argument why people would want to run 9mm because they want more ammunition. But with modern guns now, you can easily find a gun that can have anywhere from 13 to 17 rounds in a 45. It's not even really a combo anymore. It's just more or less which one would you rather buy, 9mm ammo, or would you rather pay more money and buy the 45? When it comes to rifles, there are two different rifles that most people are going to go after, and that's the AK-47 and the AR-15. Obviously, once you get into more niche groups, you'll start looking into pistol carbine rifles. You'll be looking into submachine guns, or technically they're not classified as machine guns because we can't have machine guns, but I don't even know what you call it. I guess a pistol carbine rifle or a pistol caliber carbine, I guess, is what they would be considered. But like MP5s, MP7s, stuff like that, PDWs, or scars. People like scars. I like scars. They're kind of cool. I never shot one, but they look sick. And I guess the main thing, other than the difference between 7.62 and 5.56 NATO, is the different. If you're gonna be in like super duper cold environments and you want a gun that you can run through the mud and you can crawl in the mud with, you can crawl through the swamp, you can basically just beat it to death gun, go with the AK-47 because they're built for Russians, so they gotta be tough. If you want something that's a little more standardized and has maybe more parts available for it, I would go with the AR-15. And honestly, I would probably just go with the AR-15 from the jump if you're an American, because of ease of access to 5.56. It's more commonly found, and if you're going to be scavenging through places in a SHTF situation, your odds are more likely to find 5.56 rather than 7.62. And another thing, the AK-47 doesn't really need cleaning. I say that in a very extreme case. Obviously, you should take care of your guns and you should oil them, and you should not put them in the mud and the frozen water and swamps and stuff like that. But if you're in a situation where you may be in that situation and you have 7.62 ammo, why not go with a robust AK-47? You know, that's just my 2 cents about it. I think that's about all the things I wanted to talk about. I kind of went off on a rant a little bit towards the end, but I kept it relatively on topic. I actually had a script written down. You could probably tell. But that'll be it for today's video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.